is it going? Fine. Today I am gonna tell you about the law of demand, which is a concept of class 11 microeconomics. Before knowing the law of demand, I would like to tell you about what is demand. Suppose as a child, you express your wish in front of your parents to buy an iPhone for you. So that is called demand in general language. But in economic term, it has different meaning. So let's know what is it. What is demand? Demand is a desire to buy a commodity. It has three terms. At first, you should have the desire to buy a commodity that is the same in general language. Secondly, suppose you have desire to buy a commodity but you don't have enough money to purchase it. So it will remain a desire. So sufficient purchasing power is also necessary for a demand. The third thing is that you have enough money to purchase a commodity but you are not willing to spend the money. So that is not called demand. So the demand for a commodity is the desire to buy a commodity backed with sufficient purchasing power and the willingness to spend. Now let's know what is the difference between demand and quantity demanded. We know that demand generally depends on the price of the commodity. If the price of the commodity is low, we will purchase more and more. And if the price of the commodity is more, we will purchase less quantity of that commodity. So there is inverse relationship between price of the commodity and its quantity demanded. So let's know about the difference between demand and quantity demanded. Demand. It refers to different possible quantities of a commodity that the consumer is ready to buy at different possible prices of that commodity. And the quantity demanded is, it refers to a specific quantity to be purchased against a specific price of that commodity. Let me explain with an example. This is the price of a commodity X in rupees and this is quantity in units. If the price of commodity X is rupees 10, then we will purchase 10 quantities, 10 units of that particular commodity. And if the price of the commodity is 20 rupees, then we will purchase 8 units of that particular commodity. And if the price increase and it becomes up to 30 rupees, then we will purchase 6 units of that particular commodity. So these all combinations of price and quantity is called demand. But if we are calling that on the price 20 rupees, we will purchase only 8 units of the commodity. So that is called quantity demanded. So demand refers to the different possible quantities of the commodity which a consumer is willing to buy at different prices, and quantity demanded refers to the specific quantity that a consumer is willing to purchase at specific price. Let me tell you about demand schedule. Demand schedule is a table showing relation between different quantities of a commodity to be purchased at different prices of a commodity. It is of two types, individual demand schedule and market demand schedule. So at first we will know about individual demand schedule. Individual demand schedule is a demand schedule which is a table showing the relation between different commodities, different quantities of a commodity of an individual consumer who is ready to buy the quantities of a commodity at different prices of a commodity. Here we will see that if the price of a commodity is 1 rupees per unit, then a consumer is ready to purchase 4 units of a commodity. And if the price increase 2 rupees per unit, then the consumer is willing to pay willing to purchase 3 units of the commodity. So we will see that while the price is increasing, then quantity purchased by the consumer is decreasing. So there is inverse relationship between the price of the commodity and the quantity purchased by the consumer. While the price is increasing, the quantity purchased by the consumer is decreasing, and while the price is decreasing, the quantity demanded is increasing. Next one is given here, demand curve. It is a graphic representation of demand schedule. So likewise, demand schedule, demand curve is also of two types: individual demand curve and market demand curve. At first we will know about individual demand curve, which shows us the different combinations of quantity demanded at the own price of the commodity by an individual consumer. So here on x-axis we will take the quantity, and on y-axis we will take the price of the commodity. While the price is 4 rupees per unit, then the consumer is ready to buy one unit of the commodity. And while the price decrease as per 1 rupees per unit, then the consumer is willing to purchase 4 units of the quantity. So it is also showing the inverse relationship between price of the commodity and quantity demanded. So DD is demand curve here, which slopes downwards. It is showing the inverse relationship. As the price will increase, the quantity will decrease, and while the quantity will increase, the price will decrease. So DD demand curve will slope downwards. Let's have a look on market demand schedule and market demand curve. We all know that in every market there are several consumers and buyers of a commodity. Market demand schedule is a table showing different quantities of a commodity that all the buyers and consumers in the market are ready to buy at different possible prices of the commodity at a particular point of time. The point to be noted is that in individual demand schedule we were talking about one particular buyer or consumer, but here in market demand we are talking about all the buyers and consumers in the market. Just see the table on the screen, which shows the market demand of two consumers, consumer A and B, for good X at different possible prices available in the market. We will see that while the price of good X is ₹1 per unit, so the market demand of consumer A and B is 9 units, and as well as the price of the commodity is increasing, the market demand falls. We will see that while the price of good X is ₹4 per unit, then the market demand for the commodity falls and it reaches out at 3 units. It shows the inverse relationship between the on price of the commodity and its quantity demanded. The same thing is shown in market demand curve in graphical form. Just we will see it is a horizontal summation of the individual demand curves. It shows various quantities of a commodity that all the buyers in the market are ready to buy at different possible prices of the commodity at a particular point of time. Here also likewise individual demand curve, market demand curve also slopes downwards. It shows the inverse relationship between the price and quantity of the commodity X. In economics, every law is applied with certain assumptions. So let's see assumptions of the law of demand. Law of demand holds appropriate when other things remain constant except the on price of the commodity. So which are these other things? Let's see. First one is that taste and preferences of the consumer remains constant. Three factors comes under taste and preferences. First one is likes and dislikes. Which things you like the most, that you will purchase more, and which things you like less, that you will purchase less. For example, if you like pizza and burger, that you will purchase more, and if you don't like momos, then that you will not purchase. Second one is trends and fashions. As a consumer, you prefer to buy trendy and emerging fashionable things. Okay. Third one is climatic environment. Climatic environment has direct effect on purchasing power of the commodity, that is demand. In winter season, people prefer to purchase tea and coffee. Likewise, in summer season, consumer prefer to purchase goods like cold drinks and ice creams. Second one is that there is no change in the income of the buyer. Income has direct effect on the purchasing power of the buyer. If the income rises, the consumer will buy more, and if the income falls, the consumer will buy less. So while we are applying the law of demand, we assume that the income of the buyer remains constant. Third one is that prices of the related goods do not change. Related goods are of two types: substitute goods and complementary goods. Substitute goods are those goods which are the perfect substitute of each other, or which are used at the place of each other. For example, tea and coffee. If the price of tea is increasing, then people will shift to purchase coffee. It means if the price of one commodity is increasing, people will buy commodity Y for its substitute. There are a lot of substitute goods available in the market. For example, soaps. There are a lot of variety of soaps in the market available, and toothpaste, shampoos, hair oils, etc. While applying law of demand, we assume that the prices of substitute goods are remaining constant. Second one is complementary goods. Complementary goods are those goods which are used together, which are complement to each other. So, for example, car and petrol. If the prices of petrol are high, then people will purchase less cars. So, we assume that while applying the law of demand, the prices of complementary goods remain constant. And the last one assumption is that consumers do not expect any significant change in the availability of the commodity in the near future. It means to say that which commodity the consumer wants to buy, that is completely available in the market. Just listen carefully about the concept of law of demand. Law of demand states that other things remaining constant or ceteris paribus, there is an inverse relationship between quantity demanded and the on price of the commodity. It means to say that quantity demanded increases with a decrease in on price of the commodity and vice versa. Ceteris paribus, or other things being equal, implies that all other determinants of demand other than on price of the commodity remain constant. Let's understand it with the help of demand schedule. The demand schedule shows that the quantity demanded for pens decreases from 4,000 to 2,100 while the price of the pen per unit increases from rupees 5 to rupees 11. Demand curve D shows that demand for commodity X extends from OQ to OQ1 when its price falls from OP to OP1. In fact, downward slope of demand curve itself is an expression of the law of demand, which shows an inverse relationship between the price and quantity demanded of the particular commodity. This is universally true in case of normal goods. It is therefore called the law of demand, and this law of demand depends on law of diminishing marginal utility. According to this law, as consumption of a commodity increases, marginal utility of each successive unit goes on diminishing. Accordingly, for each additional unit to be purchased, the consumer is willing to pay less and less price. That's why law of demand exists.